for the undisputed UFC featherweight championship, Alexander Volkanovski minus 120. Ilia Topuria is plus 100. When I sent you guys the odds, it was minus 110 on both sides. Little action towards the Volk man. 75% of respondents to our Anik Florian podcast poll on X at Anik Florian pod. 75% like Volkanovski. Certainly a lot of the fan base out there is loving the value on him. Trying to make good on a 6th successive title defense, taking on the undefeated phenom Ilia Topuria. And with respect, guys, like forget about UFC 299 in my backyard or UFC 300. This is one of the most consequential fights I will have ever called in terms of what it could mean for the future of the featherweight division and the respective legacies of both of these men. I'm fascinated, Bri, by this main event. I need to know on which side you fall.
I love that you said that. This is getting overlooked a little bit. This is a fantastic main event. So Topuria, I've been a little slow on him. And it wasn't until I watched him butcher Bryce Mitchell live, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's for real. And then what he did to Josh Emmett, I'm like, oh, this guy's for real, for real. And the fact that this is not going to be the only win, lose, or draw, he will be fighting for a title again. I'll say that. Fantastic boxing. Vision in the pocket is great. He can lead the dance. He can counter. His ground game's phenomenal as well. Cardio proved it against Josh Emmett. All the boxes have been checked. This is the fight we need. Volkanovski, I was surprised when he set the lines earlier this week. They opened as a pick'em. I think that's a little disrespectful. I know Volkanovski's coming off the head kick knockout over Islam. And I tell you what, once I watched the countdown show and seeing how Volkanovski handled that loss, I see some people chirping him. Oh, you're making excuses. No, he's holding himself accountable. Coming off surgery, I was drinking. I don't know why. He has humility. He has self-awareness. He has self-reflection, which I think a lot of fighters could use. And I think that is the one main point that is going to bring him to this fight and bring him a W in this fight. I like the way he switches stances. I like his wrestling. He wrestled against Yair beautifully, beat up Yair. And the strength of schedule, I mean, if you look at who he fought versus Ilia, it is different worlds, right? Volkanovski's a guy who I think is one of the few guys who I like when they switch stances. There's only a handful of them. There's a lot of guys that are trying to do it, and I think it's awkward. I think it's herky-jerky. He does it right. It's phenomenal. His kicks, both sides of his southpaw or orthodox, he's dangerous. His wrestling's phenomenal. I don't know if he's going to get Topuria down early, but I think he'll be able to get him down late. And the thing about Topuria, he teed off on Josh Emmett. That's because Josh Emmett stood in front of him. Alexander Volkanovski's not going to stand in front of this guy. Alexander Volkanovski has great footwork, great patterns, great movement. Obviously, the big question mark is he coming back too soon from getting knocked out, right? He's 35, 36 years old. Is he coming back too soon getting knocked out? I like his motivation. I like how hungry he is. He's in fucking phenomenal shape. Look at the guy's Instagram. The guy is ripped. I like Volkanovski here. Again, I'm convicted. I like him in this spot. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a late 4th, 5th round TKO. But right now, minus 120, that's a gorgeous number for one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world.
Volkanovski will be 36 in September, but certainly it looks like the preparation was absolutely there. He's just not the excuse-making type, right? I talk about just truthfulness, right? As a parent, it's like I'm either talking about hard work or honesty, right? I have 2 daughters. One of them fucking lies and one doesn't, right? One of them literally won't tell a lie. The other one pauses every time I ask her a fucking hard question. I think Volkanovski was just trying to lay out the truth. It's not like he did it right after the fight.
Right.
But Kenny, Ilia Topuria, man, like he just has this special championship quality and championship medal about him now. I don't know if it's going to produce a world title this weekend, but I certainly see this guy as a future champion, even if he doesn't get it done against the otherworldly Alexander Volkanovski. Ken Flo, as you know, we don't make you make picks on all these fights, but we will need a prediction on the main event. Who do you have?
Okay, fine. I've been looking forward to this fight for a very, very long time, guys. This is such a great title fight. I can't wait for it. It is absolutely fascinating to me. There's so much to take into account, as Brian was talking about. There's so many skills on both sides of the coin here that it is a little bit difficult to decide. Now, when you look at Volkanovski, I think what makes him great is his intelligence. It's his ability to analyze a fighter. And of course, we need to include his team in that process. And it's his ability to execute when he needs to. I think what set him back was the fact that he didn't really have the ability to really do that on a training level in that fight against Makhachev. We do, of course, need to talk about that knockout. What did that do to him? For me, I don't see it as so much of a concern from a physical standpoint, because this isn't a guy who's been knocked out once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times already. That's been the only time that we've seen him knocked out. And I don't think it's gonna be a major problem here. I think, and from a confidence standpoint, do I expect Volkanovski to be short on confidence heading into this fight? Absolutely not. The guy is good everywhere. It seems like he always has a perfect game plan. And then he always knows how to not only beat you, but also finish you, and have you regret, you saying what you said and even challenging him in the first place. From everyone who's worked with Volkanovski, they say he's probably very underrated as a grappler and one of the strongest dudes that they've ever trained with. So Volkanovski has all that going for him. Topuria has all of that as well. What he doesn't have is the same level of experience. This is going to be his first fight as a 5-rounder, right, in the UFC. Just like what we saw with Pfeiffer and all that stuff, that can be a concern. When you go into those championship rounds for the first time, it is a whole new ball of wax. So, but we have seen Topuria in trouble in fights. We have seen him fight at 155.
Yep.
We've seen him all over the place and experience a lot of different things. The variety of opponents that he's faced, grapplers, wrestlers, strikers, he's kind of seen it all, and he's answered those questions extremely well with flying colors. So this is an undefeated fighter that, for me, is the truest threat to the throne when it comes to Volkanovski. So every time we see Topuria, he always seems to bring in this new set of skills. Like, oh, I didn't know he could do that. I didn't know he could do this.
Yeah.
I didn't know he could do that. The guy's a problem. He really is. He's a problem everywhere. So if he does encounter adversity, which he certainly will against someone like Volkanovski, I see him responding to that adversity very, very well. But for Volkanovski, man, again, this is a guy that many thought was the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. He's certainly up there in the top 2 or 3. And if I see this kind of value from a betting perspective, I got to be leaning towards Volkanovski here. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to have a lot of gas in the tank. I think he's going to be extremely motivated, and not only to shut up Ilia Topuria, but to remind everybody of why people were calling him the best fighter on the planet, pound for pound. So leaning towards Volkanovski here. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. If Topuria is able to win this one, then my goodness, I see him holding on to this belt for a long time. The other thing I want to mention, and Dan Tom mentioned this earlier, was the other concern for me is the fact that he does lean to a certain side a lot, either to bait you into kind of countering you, or he'll lean a little bit too far forward when he's looking for that body shot, when he's looking for that liver shot, which he loves to throw. His left hook downstairs and upstairs is a problem. So Volkanovski has to be aware of that. But the way to solve that is you basically you take your kick and you just run it right through him. And I think Volkanovski is going to see that. He's going to look for that kick often to try to knock out Topuria. And then the other thing, yes, Topuria is going to be a little bit taller, something that he doesn't experience very often in that division. But Volkanovski has that long-ass reach, man. And you can't forget about that either. So I like Volkanovski in this spot slightly. But man, is this going to be an amazing fight?